Hello, everyone. Caren Glasser here, and welcome to Life Uncorked, Aging Like a Fine Wine. And I am here with Aliza Kline. She's the founder and CEO of OneTable. Welcome to the show. How are you this morning?
I'm great, Caren. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. This whole program is spotlighting people that are doing extraordinary things in the next chapter of their life. So let's just start out with your story and how did you end up where you are right now in your life? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a Jewish kid who grew up in Colorado Springs, Colorado, which is right at the base of Pikes Peak Mountain. It's a very beautiful place. It's a super odd place to grow up as a Jewish kid, but I am the child of a rabbi, a congregational rabbi, and also a dancer. And so having an artist as a parent and a biblical scholar and religious leader as a parent had a profound impact. It's really this interesting mix of some scholarship and rootedness in history with creativity.
Tell us a little bit about OneTable. What is it?
Sure. OneTable is a online platform like Airbnb. So the way Airbnb works is that you have hosts who create a profile. They open up their home to people who can visit. You can rent a room, a bed, or the whole house. Mm-hmm. And then you have a guest profile who says, I would love to I'm traveling to Madrid and I want to stay in a beautiful home. We took the same concept of a host profile and a guest profile, but we applied it to Shabbat dinner. So it's called a social dining platform. So we have now about 20,000 people who are hosts. These are volunteers who are willing to open up their home, live out the value of hospitality, and invite people in specifically for Friday night Shabbat dinner. We started specifically with young adults in their 20s and 30s and are now expanding to people in their midlife and starting their next chapter. And we also support college students, multiple different populations. But the whole idea is to help people go online to go offline.
I love that. And it's community, right? It's all about creating that community that I think in this world that we're living in right now, more than ever, we need this, right?
If you look at people's sense of belonging and social connection throughout the week, it ebbs and flows. Mm-hmm. And when you get to Friday night, you have two possibilities. One is a time to feel the most connected because you have a ritual that brings people together. And the other is a time to feel the most socially isolated. In other words, if you do not have plans on a Friday night, regardless of your life stage, you might feel profoundly isolated or lonely. Whereas if there is an invitation, you know there is a place that you could go, or the tools that you have to gather with others, we have research that shows that leads to remarkably higher senses of social connection. So the fact that it happens, Shabbat, Friday night happens, it's once a week. There's always an opportunity to be aware of who is in your life and what those blessings are. And then if you are looking to meet new people, how to make that as easy as humanly possible, with a reason to gather that's bigger than just let's get together, is actually rooted in this ancient tradition, which can be very compelling. So since OneTable started back in 2014, we've hosted about 125,000 dinners. We're roughly at 250,000 young adults who have participated. And we're in the early stages now of growing to expand to other populations. So it's, there are 30 college campuses that are powered by OneTable now, and nascent communities starting to grow. People in their next chapter are starting to invite each other through the same resources.
So what keeps you going? I mean, I have to believe is a lot of hard work. If this is not you just show up in the morning and la-di-da-di-da, what motivates you to keep doing this?
I did not know anything about technology when I started this job. I knew a lot about Shabbat and a lot about community, but nothing about how you actually build a social dining platform and what does it mean to understand that. So there's an enormous learning curve for me, which is just fascinating. Learning something new is always energizing. I'm very kind of interested in behavioral economics, the way people make decisions, what motivates somebody to be inspired and to do something, and then actually have the tools to follow through right? A lot of people have gym memberships
Right.
that sit unused, right? And Shabbat's there every week. We've got synagogues, community centers, all kinds of people, but they're often empty. And it's not because people don't want to do it. What gets in the way? And so that to me is fascinating. So the more I can understand the way people behave, and what are the barriers between them and being in fulfilling relationships, for example, and understand that, that's exciting to me. The world is a friggin' mess. Polarization is, I can't imagine it could be any higher, but it is. And it is within our American society, the global society, between Israel and the rest of the world, within our community, and within families.
Right.
And I am really driven to see what it looks like to keep people at the table. In a literal as well as figurative way. And that is incredibly motivating to me.
I mean, we always like to ask our guests, how do you want to be remembered? And I think you've just answered that in what you just said. I believe you said you want to be remembered as the person who brought people together.
Yeah, and kept them there, right? So there are so many pressures to keep people apart. And that is, to me, terrifying and somewhat an existential threat. I think there's tremendous value in the ritual practice of coming together with a regular cadence. There's a humility built into that practice that I think people are very hungry for, but don't always feel like it is for them or they have a sense of belonging. And that's really been my life's work, is to say, no, of course there's a seat for you at the table.
I just think what you're doing is just, as I like, freaking awesome. I really, and the fact that, it started in 2014. Here we are in 2024, and we went through, a crazy 3-4 years. Did you actually do virtual Shabbats?
Look, the impact of the pandemic was absolutely profound. There was a huge increase in people trying to think about home-based Jewish practice at higher levels than we had seen historically before. We saw, we used to do about 200 dinners on a weekly basis. It went up to 400 dinners. Now we're close to 600 to 700 dinners on a weekly basis. But really, within 2 months of the pandemic, we doubled in terms of participation. We saw a lot of people making virtual Shabbat dinners, absolutely using Zoom, especially to bring together people from multiple generations. I'm sure you may have participated in some of those.
Yes,
and some of that was incredibly valuable and powerful. Some was terribly awkward. And as soon as our primary population of young adults, as soon as they could gather in person again, they did. However, they had gotten so used to very intimate dinners, 2 people, 4 people, 5 people, that it took about 1.5 years to rebuild the muscle memory of going back up to 6 people, 8 people, 10 people. Before the pandemic, our average was about 12 to 14. Young people would sort of pack into their homes, and it really altered the way they were connecting. People just didn't feel safe gathering. And didn't really have the muscle memory of how to have, what does it mean to cook for 12 people? Like they had just sort of forgotten that. And it's over time, it has been rebuilt. Now the average is about 8 people at a dinner, which, if you're curious, is actually the ideal size of a dinner party. You put your most robust person, the biggest conversationalist, right in the middle of the table.
Right.
But that's enough where everybody can meet somebody new and also really engage in meaningful conversation.
Well, this is awesome. I have one last question for you, and that's what's next for Aliza and OneTable. What's next for you?
So in the immediate future for 2024, I really do think that there is a necessity for this focus on staying in dialogue with people, even within our own team, where people are across the board in terms of their own political connections and the way they are associating, identifying as Jewish right now specifically. And so we've done some real structured resources and conversational tools. I'd like to bring that way beyond, so that people can have the invitation to be at the table, and then the resources and tools in order to do that. Look, I think, I'd like us to be reaching well over 100,000 people per calendar year. We're also taking our technology and white labeling it. That means other organizations can say, I would like to do kind of DIY dinners for my population, whether it's a congregation in Arizona, or it's young adults who've lost a person in their family, or retirees in Palm Springs. So that is a whole new product line for us, is like really bringing that out to the world. As a person, I'm very lucky to still have my parents who are in their late 80s, and I have children who are off to college. And so I feel like I'm very much in between and really wanting to spend as much time with all of them as I possibly can. And as I think about what may be next for me, it's really making sure that I have the time to be as present as I possibly can with the people that I love.
Thank you, Aliza, for joining us today. We've been talking to Aliza Kline. She's the CEO founder of OneTable. If you want more information, make sure that you check it out on their website, gettogether.onetable.org. Thank you for joining us. Thank all of you for joining us. We know that you have a choice as to how to spend your time. You chose to spend it today with Aliza and I. Go out, give somebody an awesome day, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.